Today in Cannabis News, a group of U.S. lawmakers send a follow-up memo to President Joe Biden regarding mass pardons for those convicted with federal cannabis crimes. While New York state regulators work on recreational cannabis regulations, dispensaries on Indigenous American land begin to open. And a cannabis banking legalization proposal is removed from a U.S. federal defense bill. It's Thursday, December 9th, and this is your Trichomes Morning Buzz.
Broadcasting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California, it's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
First up, as the holiday season and end of the year nears, a group of U.S. lawmakers have delivered a follow-up memo to President Joe Biden's office to urgently request a response to a plea sent nearly a year ago for the use of executive authority to grant mass pardons to those convicted with federal cannabis crimes. A substantial number of Americans remain behind bars due to racially discriminatory cannabis policies and continue to incur criminal fees, wrote Representatives Jamal Bowman, Earl Blumenauer, and Barbara Lee to President Biden. During Biden's initial year in office, activists, policymakers, and pop culture figures alike have implored him to use his presidential power to follow through with his election campaign promise to grant pardons to individuals with cannabis offenses. To begin rectifying the damage done by these discriminatory implemented policies and reunite families before the holidays, we reiterate our ask that you use your executive authority to pardon all individuals convicted of nonviolent cannabis offenses, whether formally or currently incarcerated, they continued. We further write to specify that all federal crime fines and fees be canceled for all nonviolent cannabis offenses.
Next up. About 8 months following New York legalizing adult use cannabis statewide, residents are permitted to carry cannabis, though the sales and distribution of the industry has been slow to get off the ground. This is due to the fact that there remain to be no laws or regulations in place for recreational cannabis retail. The Office of Cannabis Management is reportedly continuing to work on this issue. There also has yet to be any permits granted. However, there are cannabis shops operating within state lines. Stores have launched on Native American tribal land, which is owned by the tribe and not the government of the state of New York. In June, the St. Regis Mohawk tribe passed a recreational cannabis policy, and in September, it began receiving shop registrations. They, as well as the Seneca and Cayuga nations, have stores on tribal lands. Tribal cannabis dispensaries are legal if they are on federally recognized sovereign tribal land, remarked OCM official Freeman Cloppett. As for the state of cannabis retail regulations, Cloppett issued a statement to CBS 6 saying the original estimate, which was aggressive, was that it would take 18 months for regulations to be finalized and sales to begin. Now that the board is constituted and the OCM established, we can really begin to look at the timeline and see if there is an opportunity to expedite the process, including the potential to issue some licenses on a rolling basis.
Last up, the Safe Banking Act, which would provide cannabis businesses legal access to banking services, has been withdrawn from an omnibus defense budget package in the U.S. Congress, potentially ending the cannabis sector's prospects for major federal change before the year's end. The House of Representatives revised the National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, previously this year to include the Cannabis Financial Services Bill. I'm disappointed safe banking is not included in the NDAA bill text released today. The Senate insists on burying its head in the sand and denying every opportunity to reform our outdated cannabis laws to align state and federal law to improve public safety. Representative Ed Perlmutter, the bill's chief sponsor, wrote in a tweet. The amendment's insertion in the 11th hour generated a spirited discussion among the committee's legislators, with some expressing displeasure with the Senate leader's handling of the subject. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has focused on comprehensive federal cannabis policy reform prior to adopting legislation like the Safe Banking Act. Representative Perlmutter contended that he is not raising the white flag on this thing, affirming that lawmakers are going to keep bringing it up.
That was today's Buzz. Thanks for listening. For more cannabis news and insights from industry professionals and a place to discuss these stories and others, visit trichomes.com.
And be sure to catch up with all of our other cannabis industry-related podcasts like Hash It Out, Tech and Cannabis, or the International Cannabis Conversation, wherever you get your podcasts. For trichomes.com, I'm Devin Leon.
And I'm RJ Balde, signing off.